Hello, the recovery guru here. Today we are working on this SanDisk solid state drive. This guy here, this is it right here. It's just this little board with 4 NAND chips. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an SM2246XT controller. This customer had this solid state in a server, and the problem with it is that it no longer put it correctly inside the server. So the customer tried to connect it to a USB enclosure, tried to access it, and it didn't work. So he called us. We picked it up in Framingham, Massachusetts. We brought it to the lab and we tested it. Basically, when you power on, the solid state just stays busy. So you power on. Oops, sorry. Oh, sorry, wrong channel. There you go. Power on. See, it goes to busy. It just stays busy, nothing else. So this is typical. This is typically an indicator of the solid state being degraded. So we're gonna try to actually see if we can get access to it. So this is a solid state. So let's go to the solid state module, SanDisk. It's a SM2246XT controller. SM stands for Silicon Motion. So let's do that. So let's see if we can access the firmware and see if we can actually access the user data. Okay, so here's the controller, and then let's enter in the utility. So it's unable to read the ID. So we're gonna use a loader. This is a piece of code that allows us to actually enter inside the drive's firmware, and allowing us to actually get access to the user data. So let's load that up. We're gonna have to short some pins on the board here to actually be able to trick it into loading the loader. We're gonna press enter here. It's processing. Okay, I'm gonna release the short now. So as you can see, a lot of errors here. ECC stands for error correction code. So the solid state is very, very degraded. A lot of problems with it. So right now, if you were to do a test, let's see if we can read any user data. Okay, so that's some raw data there. That looks kind of weird. It's a repeated pattern. That's kind of strange. So let's see if we can actually see the data. So right now the solid state is in what is known as a technological mode, allowing us to bypass the problems with the firmware and get user data access. It's not always working out using this method, as these drives are very, very degraded and have a lot of issues. But many times it does work, and we are able to obtain a recovery. If the drive is in really bad shape, it's just a partial recovery. The big issue with this particular solid state is that the customer actually wants a clone, because he would like to take he would like us to clone the data from the SanDisk to this Samsung solid state, and so he can put this drive, brand new drive, with the clone information on it into the server, and boot the server and be back in business. But because the solid states are so degraded, a lot of times cloning is not possible. Only data recovery is possible. So this is very slow here. I'm not really sure why. Come on. Very slow. I'm gonna pause it for a moment, okay? Until this loads up. Alright, so here we are. For some reason the task froze. So we're just going to reload it here from the previous recovery. So it's building the translator here. Which allows us to basically translate from the physical location of the data on the solid state to a logical interpretation of how the data is laid out in the chips. So the logical interpretation allows us to understand in a more linear kind of format how the data is laid out. See, it's running into degraded areas. See, it's a bad page count. 1. This happens on solid state. A lot of people think that solid states are immortal. They are so much better than HDDs, but they do fail. They do fail a lot as well. Just because solid state no longer have mechanical components, some people think that they can't fail, and they do actually. They do a lot, especially the ones that are used in heavy stress environments, like on a server that is running 24/7. Okay, so we loaded the task from before. As you can see, now it's showing the correct capacity. So we have user data access. Actually, we had this loaded earlier for a quick reference. So see, we can see data, but the customer wanted a clone, and we cannot deliver a clone. There's too much damage. I don't want to stress the solid state anymore, so I'll just show you a video that we recorded that kind of illustrates what this looked like. So see, the green areas are successfully red areas that have been cloned successfully. The other areas are not. All these areas here are areas that are very degraded, severely degraded, and they're not readable. So I'm just gonna play the video of what that looks like. See how it's running into errors. So a clone is not possible. There's too much damage for a clone to be successfully completed. So we provided this to the customer as evidence, so the customer can have a visual of what this looks like. And unfortunately, we can't help with the clone. Nobody can help. So that's the story on this 240 gigabyte SanDisk solid state. If you need help with the free diagnosis, you can find us at datarecoveryguru.com. You can call, text, or WhatsApp us at 617-571-9172. We answer questions for free, free consultation. All right, thank you very much. All the best.